Today I've got an amazing guest. He's just spoken at our Birmingham Coffee and Natter event. We've got Mark Stephen Pooler. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm great, thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for giving us an interview and some more of your time.
It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed being here.
It was really cool. After you did your presentation, which was really, really good, I saw loads of people coming up to you saying how inspiring it was. How does it feel when people come up to you and say that kind of thing?
It makes it all worthwhile because I've always wanted to do public speaking to inspire people. So the feedback at the end of the presentation, people saying, that's really inspiring, you're so brave to get up there and tell your story like that. That really does make it worthwhile.
And we're going to get onto your story in a minute because it's very, very powerful. But I think with you, your presentations are very different because you've got that kind of story, and it really did make you stand out. So just for the viewers, I know they weren't here today, just give me a little bit about your story, what is it you're doing now, what were you doing before, and how did you get there?
So I was always bullied through primary school or through secondary school, and it led me to have very, very low self-esteem, which led to me having lots of cosmetic procedures, very low self-esteem, and then I got into drug addiction and really, really strong drugs, crack and heroin, so they're the worst possible drugs that you could turn to. And my life spiraled out of control, and that led to me collapsing, my heart stopping and ending up in hospital. And from there I've slowly built my life into something more successful and turned my life around, which has led me to today, where I'm a freelance hairstylist in a journey of public speaking, and I'm just about to be a published author, so it's a real exciting roller coaster of a journey.
It's really amazing, and I know in your presentation you talked about how your past doesn't define who you are, and I absolutely loved that. I'm all about being present, and you said that so many times. Your past is, a lot of people aren't going to have had that kind of serious background, but there's certain themes that they're really able to resonate with, like the bullying stuff. I know that was a big message for you.
Yes.
For the people who are watching, what around bullying specifically? How do we help kids now who are being bullied? What's your advice for them?
Advice for bullies, I would always say to someone being bullied, never ever be ashamed. Always reach out to a friend, a mentor, a teacher, a parent, and seek help. Remember, it's illegal to be bullied by people, and you can always go to the police. Speak to friends and mentors, never be ashamed, ask for help.
It's hard though, isn't it, when you're actually the person being bullied? I was bullied myself severely, beaten up to the point where I had to carry a knife in my backpack because I was literally getting targeted by gangs all the time.
Or carry a knife.
I don't recommend that strategy. But when you're in that kind of space, you don't think about reaching out to people, do you? You think it's your fault. So what's your advice for someone who's maybe going through that right now?
I think sometimes when you're being bullied, sometimes you do have to sympathise with the bully as well, because sometimes when someone's bullying you, it's because they're being bullied themselves. So I would always say sympathise with the bully, and also stand up for yourself. Sometimes if you just take it, it's not really going to solve the problem. I think stand up for yourself and fight back a little bit, not with fists. But I'd definitely say stand up for yourself and give it back a little bit. Don't just put up with it.
You very much strike me as a lover, Mark, as a kind of guy that he's just pours out love, and you can really tell from your presentation as well. I think for me, that's what I've found is I understand that everybody is going through stuff. If someone's bullying you, it's because there's something going on in their life, right? There's something very deep that they're unhappy with. And yeah, I know you talked a lot about all sorts of amazing things, but what would be your 3 steps? I think you gave 7 steps, right? 7 really powerful points. What would be your 3 main things you want the viewers to take away?
A big step for me was the fear and action one, and I'll talk about it a little bit. When you're building a new lifestyle or trying to create success, you do have to face some of your biggest fears, and you do have to jump in feet first sometimes and just go for it, and that is really facing the fear head on. So when facing fears, jumping feet first.
Nice.
But for those that can't do that, I would say toe dipping, and I use this with public speaking. I'm scared of speaking in public, but I wanted to be a public speaker, so I had to face that fear pretty quick.
Yeah.
So toe dip, I started by talking to a couple of people, then a slightly bigger group of people, and then a slightly bigger group of people, and over time the fears get better. And action as well, you have to take action in life. Nothing's going to come to you. You have to take action. So if you have a thought of something you want to do, take action straight away on that thought. And that's one of my tips.
Yeah, and you as well, I know from your story, you've tried things and they've not worked out, and you've tried other things and they've not worked out. And that really stood out for me. And there was even one guy in the audience, right, who talked about not being scared to fail. How do you get that kind of mindset? Because most people, they're terrified of failing, right? It's one of their biggest fears. So how did you get to that place?
I have always been a big believer in myself and following my dreams, and failure is one thing I never really consider. Am I going to fail or not? Like when I did network marketing for 2 years, I wanted to get to a 6-figure salary. I failed, I didn't make it, but I used it as a stepping stone to take me into my public speaking journey. So I would say never be as scared of failing. The people who fail the most successful people in the world have failed the most.
There's a great quote, which is, I absolutely love, which is that the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried. It's like, to get good at anything, you just have to learn. You just have to keep trying, right? And some things work and some things don't, but you can't beat yourself up when they don't work.
Yeah, and collapsing and dying, that was a big failure. And from where I am now to where I was then, you know, I'm happy of the failures, because sometimes the failures push you in a better direction to go where you want to go.
Do you think if you hadn't gone through those experiences, you would still be inspiring people like this? Do you think you would be a speaker?
I don't know. I think it's all the bad stuff that's happened which has led me to want to help others with my story.
So one of the most interesting things I find when I'm training people on how to be speakers is the people who want to be speakers have this big message, and it's because they've been through so much crap in their life and they've fallen over so many times, they learn how to pick themselves up and then they teach others.
I definitely agree with that. I think some of the most inspirational people are the ones that have suffered the most and have been through the most.
Yeah. I saw you created your 7-step program, right? Your coaching program to help people. Just tell me a bit more about that.
It's my 7 steps. It's what I've learned over the last few years and my own personal development journey. And it's 7 tips what have really helped me to turn my life around and made a big difference in my life. One of them's associations, like people that you associate with, and I say in my speech, you end up like the people that you're around. And if you look at your circle, if you wouldn't swap places with them, you're going to end up like the people that you were close to. Jim
Rohn says you end up the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
And I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I think your environment is the most important thing. If anybody is unhappy right now, for me, my first advice is always check your environment. Who you are hanging around.
Like I say, get rid of the shit weighing you down.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's an interesting transition going from the network marketing, the hairdressing, now coaching people. How are you finding that?
I'm absolutely loving it. I really feel like I'm living a purposeful life. I feel like I'm following my true passions. I'm still very much a hairdresser and I love looking after my hair clients.
You're going to do a consultation for me, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've took a step back from network marketing because I wanted to follow my passion into speaking, and I've taken it a step further and get into coaching to help others with all my skills of personal development. What I've learnt over the years, I've really got a lot to offer other people who are going through adversity, because I've been there and I've faced those challenges.
Something I loved about you that you told me was that you invested in yourself to learn these things, right? You invested thousands and thousands of pounds to go on and get great mentors and people to show you. Why do you think it's important to have a mentor?
I think it's really important to have a mentor because they've already made the mistakes. So by having a mentor, you can learn from them and you don't have to make the mistakes because they've already made them for you. And also, it's walking the path of someone who has already been there and done it. So it's really important to have mentors that you look up to that can help you on your own journey into success.
Yeah, nice. Something that we spoke about a little bit earlier, and I know it's in your presentation, was about taking action. Okay. One of my bugbears is I see people who, I call them self-development junkies, you know, they go to loads of seminars and they go to workshops and they go to networking events and they learn and they learn and they learn, but they never actually do anything. What's your advice for someone like that? How can we get the people watching to actually implement something?
I think it's really important to learn, but definitely limit your time on learning and take more action. As soon as I get a thought of an action, I just go for it. It's really, really important to take action. And in my speech, I talk about how I set up my very first self-hosted event. And the day I promoted it on social media, I just posted it up onto social media and I got the news that my mum had got cancer of the kidneys. And I did go under for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie, I suffer with stress and anxiety. And I had to take massive action because I'm like, I have to practice what I preach. So, you know, action is really, really important. And I pull myself out of that like that from all the self-development I've learned by looking after my mind, eating healthy, exercising, taking the dog a walk, listening to great music. And I pulled off an amazing event, and that's purely because I take action. I'm a person of action. Action is the most important step. So yes, learn, but always take the action.
Nice. And if you're going to leave the audience with one thing, that if they do implement this one thing, it would have massive impact for them, what would your one thing be?
Always follow your dreams. Don't ever let anyone tell you can't do something. All my life I've been bullied and people taking the mick out of the way I've looked from my sexuality. Never ever care what anyone else thinks. What's important is what you think of yourself, and just follow your dreams, just go for it.
Amazing. And how can the people watching find you? How can they get in touch with you?
I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Mark Stephen Pooler. And yeah, just connect with me there and I'll be happy to connect with whoever.
Amazing. Thank you, Mark. And
Thank
hope
you.
to see you at a coffee in Natter again soon.
Yeah, you will. I'll be watching you speak next November.